What's up and welcome to Party Invite, where we invite you to a gaming community of inclusiveness and diversity. Your party members today are Thomas Egan.
That's me.
Carlos Gomez. Debbie Hill. And I am your party leader.
Carlos, you're muted.
I'm dumb. Okay.
It's like, and Carlos.
Out of the way early. All right, cool.
Carlos
and
is
Debbie, Debbie is going
video
to
version
speak
only.
a whole lot tonight. Just saying.
Very talkative, Debbie. She'll be joining us at some point. And I'm your party leader, Chris Mowry. Our companion on this episode is senior staff writer at GameIndustry.biz and podcaster at Cozywood Kitchenette, a podcast of tasty recipes inspired by your favorite video games. Reb Valentine.
Well, hi.
Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love doing this. This is good.
Before we get into what we've been playing and everything, let the people out there know a little bit about yourself, Reb.
Yeah. I mean, you summed it up pretty well. I'm a senior staff writer at GamesIndustry.biz, which is a video game trade publication. Basically, I write about how the games that you love get made. News writer, do reporting, that kind of thing. And I also do podcasting. I have a couple podcasts. I help run our weekly news show at Games Industry that comes out once a week. And then I also do a monthly podcast there called the Game Developers Playlist, where I interview game developers about the games that they did not make, but that inspired their work. In the most recent episode, I talked to Xalavier Nelson Jr., who's behind a game called An Airport for Aliens, currently run by dogs. We talked about the people within too, and it was really good. And then on my own, separate from all that, I do a podcast called Cozywood Kitchenette that actually just started a month ago. Like a month ago. And every episode is a recipe, as you said, inspired by a different video game. And kind of alongside that recipe, as I walk you through it, there's also a conversation with someone who is connected to that video game or that recipe somehow. So the most recent episode is from the World of Warcraft cookbook, The Slow Roasted Turkey, because it's like a very holiday themed episode, and I brought on the author of the World of Warcraft cookbook, Chelsea Monroe Castle, to talk about holiday foods and feasting. And the next episode, coming up here in a week, is a recipe from a little game called Bug Snacks. We're gonna make some flapjackaracks, and I talked to Seth, who's the audio. I don't have his title in front of me, but he's the audio composer director behind Bug Snacks, and we talking about Bug Snacks.
Very cool.
That's
Great.
awesome.
I could go for a bunger right about now, but that's my favorite one. It's a really funny name.
Yeah.
Let's get into a little bit of what we've been playing lately. It's, just past the holidays, so I'm sure we had some time to sink into some things that maybe we missed or whatnot. But Carlos, what have you been getting into?
Yeah, I took the New Year's weekend to play an ungodly amount of Cyberpunk, about 12 to 15 hours. I technically don't regret it, because I completed some of the major story arcs for a couple of the main characters. But that's Cyberpunk. Anybody that plays will go through pretty much the same experience. But it was a whole lot of fun. Sorry, any Nomad. So Chris, you and I probably will have the exact same experience.
Well, I didn't do Nomad. I did.
Oh, I thought you did.
I did
Street Kid.
I did Street Kid. Yeah, I did Street Kid first, and then I made a Corpo Samurai Lady, and I did finish the story of my first character. I did not like the ending, but good news, there's a bunch of them. So you could go back in and try it a little differently and do that, because I spoke with a friend who kind of spoiled a little bit of what his ending was like, and it was wildly different than what I got. So that's cool. I like when games do that. So yeah, it doesn't seem like it's all coming back to one point. It seems like it's actually diverging quite a bit.
If you're watching the video version of this podcast, you can see this sweet Run the Jewels Cyberpunk hoodie.
Very
I've
nice.
never even played the game yet, so
I'm gonna steal it from you. It's okay.
I own the game. I haven't even started it, so that's where I'm at.
It's probably smart. Just wait for those patches.
Yep. The game will be there when that patch comes out.
Yeah, it'll still be there. It'll still exist, maybe. What else you been getting into, Carlos?
Then of course, when New Year's happened, I was just like, I need like a countdown game, and for some reason that was Tetris 99. I just started playing. I played like 3 or 4 games where I was like 85th, and that's not satisfying in the slightest.
No.
And so I got to a streak where I probably played, no kidding, at least 25 games, just straight. And I started getting to the point where I was like consistently finishing in the top 15. And when the new year hit, I was like, okay, fine, I'm satisfied. And so that was a happy moment.
Nice, that's good.
But since we had such a long break between this and our last pod, I also played a couple really short experiences. Where the Bees Make Honey, I played it on Switch. I've noticed that was the worst idea.
Oh.
I don't know if you've seen the Metacritic reviews or any other reviews on it, but
No.
yeah, I looked at the PC stuff and the original Kickstarter. So unfortunately, like I really want to say to the developer, great stuff as far as the PC side goes, from what I've seen there. But the Switch version is not optimized in the slightest. It's a very short game. Like 45 minutes is what I put into it. Technically, you should be able to complete it in about 25 to 30 minutes, but there was some very harsh graphical limitations to mess with, and the controls were stiff.
And what is this? What is this game again?
So yeah, Where the Bees Make Honey is this. It's really based on a narrative, a nostalgia trip kind of.
Okay.
But it throws you into a few different gameplay styles. Like there's a side-scrolling bit. There's a platforming bit where you're a rabbit, and the platforming bits and there's a couple puzzle bits in there that, for some reason, the Switch version just did not work well enough for. When your inputs are like lagging almost 2 seconds behind what you're trying to do, and you're trying to jump across the chasm, it's not going to work out too well.
No.
So yeah, unfortunately, there were a couple things that brought it down a whole lot. But I watched some PC video afterwards, and I'm like, man, that's the place to play this game.
Yeah. Is this related at all to where the water flows like wine or whatever that
No.
game is? It's not. Okay. It just like they were so similar. They were like so close. I was like, is that at all related to or?
No, but it is a great thing. Like, it's a great idea, and I think the concept was actually hit probably correctly on the PC version, but just not on the Switch version.
That's
That
a
said,
bummer.
I did get it. Yeah, I did get it on sale. I ended up paying like $1 for it, so it was fine.
Well, there you go.
It didn't hurt me, but I could see where the love was, where the story was trying to get you emotionally. That part of it was great. And then I just felt a little experimental over the past couple weeks, so I dove into the free games on Xbox, and I saw One Leaves. I think it came out in 2018. It's a first-person horror game, and I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it here. I didn't spoil it in our Facebook group, but
Spoilers.
I played it in 2020 technically, and it was a non-smoking propaganda game.
What?
I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, it blew my mind. Like, during the gameplay, I was like, oh, this is a little funny. Why is it only talking about smoking? And then the end of the game, it brought up the font that you may remember from anti-smoking ads. And I was like, oh my god, what?
Is this the game that was like paid for by the U.S. government?
I wouldn't doubt it, but
is...
like
Yeah,
nothing in the...
yeah, it is. It's the same one I was thinking of. This is the one.
Yeah.
This was launched by the FDA.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing in the description like told me that at all. So I just dove into it, and it made me laugh. so much. It's not bad. It's another like 20-minute experience that technically you can play a couple times if you're like really wanting to egg on the achievements, which I did. I got like 800 gamer score from it in
Oh my
a little
God.
over half an hour, but it was so funny, and I still appreciate the no smoking ads and the thoughts behind it. It just really threw me for a loop that we're still doing that.
Weird.
That we still have to, but it was
wild.
actually kind of entertaining. Yeah, I kind of just took a little bit of a nostalgia trip over the past couple weeks. Besides Cyberpunk, and that's kind of just well, actually, Cyberpunk and Tetris 99 are kind of my games to just zone out to anyway. So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
Cyberpunk is definitely, I can zone out on it now. Like, I pretty much know what's going on, and I kind of know the story beats now, where I can just, like, oh, yep, just go over here, do this, get this done, go over here, do this, get this done. I'm becoming, like, way more familiar with that world, like, knowing where things are in relation to each other, that's always something fun in a open world game where you're like, oh, well, if I go left up here, then I'm over here, like, I'm in this area or whatever. You kind of learn the map without actually like studying it. You're just living in it, and then you're like, oh yeah, now I know where all these places are, which is a fun little thing. But Reb, it says you've been playing Yakuza Like a Dragon. Speaking of open worlds, right? It's open world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So I had not played any Yakuza games at all until earlier this year when my partner got me to play Yakuza 0. And I loved it. Like, absolutely devoured that game. It's weird because, like, I tend to gravitate towards more relaxing, like, cozy games, but I do occasionally play more intense ones, and that one just, like, grabbed me. It's like this intense crime drama with, like, this really good, like, emotional story, and then it's also got these stupid sub-stories, side quests, like, that are just hysterical, and I loved it. And then I started streaming Yakuza Kiwami 2. I did that, like, once a week. I did, like, a 3-hour stream once a week, and I got through that game, and I didn't love it as much as Yakuza 0, but I really love it. I'm probably going to play Yakuza Kiwami 2 and stream that sometime in the next couple weeks. I'll probably start that up. But Like a Dragon came out, and I wasn't intending to play it. I was gonna keep playing the Yakuza games in order, but it just circumstances just lined up, and I just heard so many good things about it, and I ended up giving it a shot. And guys, it is so good. Oh, it's really good. It's like the hero Ichiban is, like, incredible. He's charismatic, and, like, he's got this, set of values where he wants to, take care of people, and specifically, like, protect the people in society who are traditionally kind of cast out or looked down upon. And he's this wonderful and it very much embodies the spirit of the other Yakuza games, in that even though it has switched genres from, like, an action combat game to a turn-based RPG, it very much embodies that spirit, where it has just, like, this intense emotional crime drama with these, like, really sincere and passionate characters at its heart, and then these just stupid as hell sub stories that are funny and well written and wonderful. But that series has so much heart, and that game has so much heart. Like, he's a protagonist who's able to encounter people with, viewpoints and ideals and lifestyles that he is not personally familiar with, and then talk to them and listen to their problems, and kind of revise his view of the world, and make sure that people are being taken care of, and use his power and the agency that he has to sort of further that and help people out. And it's wonderful. I think I'm like 50 hours into that game, and I've still got 5 chapters to go. I spent, like, 2 entire days, like, nonstop doing nothing else on a business management sim that's within that game. Like, I literally did nothing else for those 2 days. And it's just really good. Like, I love it. I love it so much. If somebody is thinking of getting into the Yakuza games and doesn't know where to start, that's a dang good one to start on, especially if you're an RPG person.
Yeah, and that's been something for me that listening to a lot of this Game of the Year stuff, the arguments for Yakuza Like a Dragon are like, man, I kind of want to check this out, but I'm not ever really into JRPGs. I've like stayed away from Persona 5 because I'm like, I just don't know that that's for me, and so I haven't like sunk in the time to those just because I haven't done that. But I feel like shouldn't like a Dragon be on Xbox Game Pass in like a year or so? Because the other games
even
are.
like 3 months maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you played other Yakuza games before?
No, I watched my old roommate play through. Maybe it was. I don't know if it was Zero. It was a few years ago, so I can't remember exactly which one I watched him play through. But the brawler like mechanics of that, of just like run down the street and fight these four guys, I was always kind of like, this is kind of silly. I it didn't grab me. Basically, like watching him play it like next to me, I was never like, I need to get in there and do that because that looks like fun. I was just always kind of like, this is kind of goofy. Do that, spin on your head and kick those guys in the face again. That was funny.
That's fair. I mean, I think if you have Game Pass and you wanted to try Zero for yourself, that would tell you pretty quickly and cheaply whether you liked Yakuza games.
Yeah.
And then if you decided that you liked that, then like Yakuza 7 would probably be worth it. But if you just like, if that series just doesn't grab you and you don't like RPGs, then it's probably okay to skip. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, if I was just about to check if Zero was on Game Pass because I remember that there was one on there or a couple of them. So I
think
might
like 0, 1, and 2. Actually, I think they're all on Game Pass now except for 7. I'm pretty sure,
they're up
or
on,
like
at least
all through 5 or something. They put a bunch of them on there.
Yeah, I think I might give it a shot, dabble at least, and like see if it's for me or not. You got to at least try. You know, you can't just be like, oh, that game, it's not for me.
I mean, like Reb said, just know that it is really, it's kind of, the whole series is kind of about getting sidetracked, honestly. There's so many other things to do besides the main story, and you kind of need it because there are so many cutscenes and there's so many story beats. You're just like, okay, I do need a breather from the cutscenes every once in a while. So.
Yeah, I've heard almost Metal Gear, can't talk today. Metal Gear Solid. Like you're playing for 15 minutes and then there's like a 30-minute cutscene or feels like a 30-minute cutscene at least. Which those kind of games always kind of that like strikes a nerve. Those old like replaying or like going back to like Metal Gear Solid is just like, I can't do this. Like it's so long. I can't get out of this.
Like follow your star and play the games that grab you. It sounds like this may not be for you, but I will say I did not think that I was the kind of person who could deal with like 30-minute long cutscenes. But Yakuza 0, there is a scene in chapter 3 where they introduce one of the two protagonists, Majima, and it is seriously, that whole cutscene is like 20 minutes long. It's like long as heck. And the beginning of it is just kind of these guys talking. It's just like setting the scene of this of this place that they're in, and then this incident happens, and I was sitting there and like we had just eaten dinner, and so I was like, I had put the controller down and I was like eating chocolate cake, like watching this cutscene, and it got to the part where like Majima enters. And I didn't notice it until the cutscene was over. But like from the point Majima entered to the end of the cutscene where control was given back to me and I had to play again, I had like a piece of chocolate cake on my fork and I just had it like suspended in the air. And I was just like staring at Majima with like my mouth hanging open like, holy shit, I love this.
Cool. Well, that's good
good.
because I mean, you're saying like you had no like interest or weren't really into that, and now you are. So
yeah.
I'll dabble. I mean, it's on Game Pass. I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh yeah.
I on my horizon is Death Stranding, and I've only watched Kojima games before. Am I gonna like this game? Probably. I mean, most of the things people have knocked against it, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that. Well, it's a walking simulator, and you're using it with sneer quotes. I'm probably gonna like this.
Yeah.
I'm ready for those cutscenes. I'm ready for that weird Kojima everything. And yeah, I'm excited to actually play something that I've thought that I had no interest in. I didn't think I would be interested in that game until I heard, until I heard a lot of the reasons, like I said, that people didn't like it. And I was just like, you know what? If this was like 5 years ago, I think I wouldn't have liked that. But I think my tastes have changed a lot as far as like weird stuff goes. I don't know, that the day that I played the Stanley Parable, like changed my life. I was just like, wow, games can be a lot more in one direction than I thought they could be. Like that game was funnier than I thought a game could be. Metal Gear Solid was like a lot more like a movie than I thought a game could be. So I'm interested to see what Death Stranding actually turns out to be for me. But yeah, didn't think I was going to be into that.
And here you are now.
Here I am, new man, new year, new me.
Speaking of things on Game Pass, I see that you also put down Carto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually want to. I want to hear about this game because it looked cool. It looked very wholesome and cute.
I'm playing that one on Switch. I'm about halfway through. I've kind of just been because Yakuza has been such a time. The two main things I'm playing right now are such time consuming things that Carto's been kind of like my mental break. But it's this little game about this character who is the child or I think granddaughter of a cartographer. And in the opening cutscene, she causes like this accident where she kind of like falls out of their airship or whatever and gets lands on this island with all these map pieces. And you explore. She has to kind of find her way back to her grandmother in her airship, and she does this by exploring the world one map tile at a time. So, and every tile is like a square of a certain size. It's like top down. You can walk around and explore. But the rest of the map is like grayed out. Like you can't. There's nowhere else to go. You can only explore that one tile, but you find more map pieces. And then you open up your map and you can place them and connect them up to the one that you have now. So like, you're in this one square and you take this other square and you put it up and then you close the map and then you can go up into that square and you can move them around and rotate them freely. And so there are puzzles that are very dependent on how you arrange the map of the world. So like one of the very early ones is you'll get a bunch of tiles that are like kind of this like grassy plain, and then some of them will have little tiny bits of forest like on the very corners. And one of the characters will tell, and you'll be connecting them to like, as you go, just sort of slapping them on there, like not really paying attention. And then a character will tell you, oh, you need to go find this guy. They live in the middle of the big forest. And so in order to make the big forest, you have to rearrange all the tiles and put all the forest pieces together to make an actual big forest instead of just some scattered trees. And then the character's house magically appears in the middle of it and you go there and you see them. There's other ones where like you'll have to, I don't know, it'll tell you like you need to reverse the direction of the flow of the river, and in order to do that you have to like move the source of the river to the other side and like flip everything around. Or it'll be like, oh, you need to follow the trail that was left for you, and the trees will be bent in certain directions, and so you have to put the next tile in the direction that the tree is pointed and then go that way. And there's all these like little puzzles that involve moving the map tiles around, and it's really clever. Like it ends up it results in some really, really interesting puzzle solving, like in like working areas of my brain that I don't normally use. So I'm really enjoying Carto, and it's like sweet. The art is nice, the music is nice. It's a pleasant game.
I want to play that game.
It's great.
Sounds great.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It sounds like King Domino or like Carcassonne or something, like a board game.
Oh, maybe a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I think Carcassonne. I think that makes sense. I think like the biggest difference is that you can constantly rearrange them, and it's not like set when you put it into place. And so it's constantly asking you, like, my brain wants to make a really nice, neat, pretty map. And sometimes, and so when I'm like just getting the new pieces, I'll manage that, and then a character will be like, oh well, you need to like there's a section of a bunch of roads, and I've made all the roads nice and neat, and they're like, oh well, you need to take the fork that goes to the left, but the way that I've organized the roads, there is no left fork. And so okay, well,
No.
fix them all. Yeah,
It sounds interesting because but it I believe it hit Game Pass when it released. It's like one of those indie games that it was like the day it released, it was on Game Pass. But it also was like right when Game Pass is like, here's a dump of 50 games. It seemed like, anyway, it was like, so I kind of got lost in the shuffle for me with some other stuff, but it did look very cool, and that the way you're describing it and the puzzles is very interesting. I'm not big on puzzle games, but that does sound
Chris,
like something I'd be
what games do you?
Yeah, do you like games?
I like.
What's going on here?
We should just insert you trying to play that puzzle demo that one day on stream.
Oh,
that
no.
was a good one.
Puzzle demo.
Oh, jeez.
I forget what it was. It was that Tetris-looking thing that just was...
it was like a Tetris battler thing where like you had to like, yeah, I remember that now because I was confused on like why we weren't moving forward. It just like kept.
All you got to know, Reb, is that he was not very successful. That's the
it wasn't
point.
good, but the game was cool.
I wish that we had the footage. Maybe we do have the footage of the three of us trying to set up Deep Rock Galactic when we were trying to get our games to talk to each other. Boy, that was a lot of huffing and puffing.
Yeah, they didn't make it easy on us though.
It's like 45 minutes of us like questioning how much we like video games.
I say I'm not big on puzzle games, but I loved Portal and Portal 2, and Superliminal looks awesome. I just haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, I guess puzzle games aren't just like what I go for, I guess.
Yeah.
But you also have been playing the new WoW expansion, it looks like.
Yes, a lot of that and Yakuza have been the two things that I've played a lot of. I play World of Warcraft. I raid in World of Warcraft. I raid like the heroic level of difficulty. If you play WoW and you know what that is. I have a team that I play with, and I love this team for a lot of reasons. One of those reasons is that they get together every new raid tier, and we raid and we clear heroic difficulty. We play for like a couple months until we can get up to that point because it's very challenging. We play a couple times a week, and then once we clear it, like half of the guild just kind of quits and takes a break. Some of them keep playing, and that's fine. But everybody just kind of logs off for a while, and then the next time a new raid comes out, we all show back up again and we play again. And it's because everyone's busy adults, like they don't have time to be just like putting thousands of hours into this game constantly. So it's been really good. We're still working through heroic right now, but it's really fun. I love playing WoW. I'm not the kind of person who has like a million different characters and like tries to get into all the content. I like getting together with my little like community league sports team twice a week and trying to do challenging things as a group. It's really, really fun. And I like trying to get better like on a personal level too. And so that's what we're doing. I have complaints about the Shadowlands expansion, but I like the raiding part, which is what I sign on for. So,
what kind of character do you play?
I play an elemental shaman. I had to like revise it in my brain because I used to play a Tauren, but I switched to orc this expansion. So I play an orc elemental shaman. So it's like it's like a bursty turret. Like I'm pretty sturdy, but I like to stand still and just shoot lightning bolts at things.
Yep.
Who doesn't?
Effective strategy.
It's amazing. It's so much fun. But then all the raid mechanics require me to run around and move. So I gotta be a better player, I guess. Yeah, I don't like moving. So stand there, do magic.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not into WoW. Apparently, I'm just not into anything today.
Look at video games.
But it seems like this one's being pretty well received. It feels like more people are like have gone back to it and are playing it than some of the other or more recent expansions. It seems like.
Yeah, it's been pretty well received. I think there are some there are some things about it that are really good. I think the last expansion, Battle for Azeroth, was not super well received. There were just a lot of weird balance things that were going on. The plot was a mess. People didn't like it. I personally don't love the Shadowlands plot either. I think they have gone like very off the rails, and there are certain design elements I don't like. But generally people feel that like this expansion is better. It's like balanced better. The end game content is more interesting. And I think like the main thing people like generally is the thing called Torghast, which is this big. It's basically like a big roguelike thing that you can go into, and it's really fun because you're a kid, you play whatever character you play, and you have like your set of powers, you have like your toolkit, and that's just what your toolkit is. And you can sometimes like add things onto it like in a very limited way through different like items, but for the most part you're set with the spells that you have. And so you go into Torghast, and it is basically this roguelike thing where you start off with just like your base powers, and as you go along and kill more enemies, you can collect all these different buffs and powers that can like mess up your toolkit in really cool ways. So like you might just get like straight stat buffs, or you might get things where like a certain ability under certain chances will insta kill something, or you'll get weird things like I think mages have one where like a certain spell that you do has like a certain % chance to turn enemies into furniture, killing them instantly. Nice. Or there'll be things that like synergize really well with each other. Like I guess an example is I play a shaman. I have an ability called an earth elemental where I can cast it, and this big like beefy golem shows up and he takes for me for a little bit, and he makes it easy to like clear dungeons, but he's a really long cooldown, so I can't use him very often. So there's a bunch of abilities I can pick up where if I get lucky and those abilities show up, then I can get it. So I basically have that guy just up constantly. I can put like a powerful like earthquake spell right underneath him, so he's running around damaging everything for me. And you go through these things, you go through these floors, and you get more and more powers, and then you beat a boss at the end and you get a reward. And then if you want to do another run, then you have, you start at the beginning again, and you have completely different powers. And so it's a really cool like roguelike structure, and people really, really like it. Because it's fun. It lets you experiment with things that you wouldn't normally get to experiment with. It lets you, have a little bit of fun with your class, but it's all like self-contained. So you don't get to take any of those cool powers out with you into like the more competitive world of WoW. So.
That reminds me, in Warcraft 3, I mostly missed the boat on Warcraft 3, but my friends were really into it, so I played like a few custom games and had no idea what was going on. But my favorite mode was some sort of dungeon. I mean, it's basically what you described, except in Warcraft 3, where you pick one of the heroes and you start and you're level 1 and you level up as you go. And hopefully somebody on your team is a healer, and you go through a dungeon and just figure it out. I thought that was so much fun. I'd never played any sort of game that had dungeoneering before, and I always missed that I didn't have another game like that to play, especially with my friends who played World of Warcraft. That sounds like something I would love if I just played.
Yeah, no, I love that's. I mean, that's the main thing that keeps me coming back. I think that if I didn't have a team of people that I was seeing, like, and that's the thing we do together. Like, we're not. They're cool people. I like them very much, but we're not. We don't really hang out outside of WoW. But I like going to that group of people and spending a couple nights a week just with like the social group and doing challenging but manageable things together. And yeah, it's really cool. I
like
love
how
it.
you described that as like your community sports night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
That's great. I think I'm just too far gone to, like, WoW's been going on for too long for me to be like, I think I'm going to hop in and check out WoW. Like, I think it's just at a point where it's just too far. I think I did it. I created a character with my friends way back in the day when they had, 3 computers in the same room. And they're like, hop on and create a character and come play with us. Like, oh, yeah, you need to go farm all that stuff. And I'm like, no. I'm good. I don't want to go farm for a while just to get my level up. But
yeah, it's hard to get into, I think, at this point. I think
I think so too.
I think they did some things this expansion to make like the initial experience easier for people. But I have a really hard time recommending WoW to people who have never played it before or who have played it like so far long ago that it's hard to recommend.
Yeah, that's Thomas and I were just talking about that the other day about like No Man's Sky. Like the first hours of that are just not all that fun and don't get you really into it. But once you were in it,
really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the barrier to entry is a little high.
A little tough.
Yeah.
That and Warframe, similar kind of deal. Where I was like,
man,
I'm
I
excited
need to get you guys to
check this
play
out.
some Xenoblade.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah, you'll just never get in there.
Is it just a huge barrier to get in?
I mean, if in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, most players that love the game even will say that it takes 30 hours to get to the good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is why I don't play Xenoblade.
That is too much.
But I mean, it's great.
If you have to preface your sentence with you just have to get up to this point to fall in love with it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember when friend of the show Cam was playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Oh boy, yeah.
And he, if I remember right, he was just like, I don't know, man, I'm not really feeling it, but I gotta get to the part where the thing happens. And like he'd come back and I'd be like, hey, so did you get to the thing? And he's like, no, but I think I've got to be almost there. And it happened like 3 weeks in a row. And then he finally comes back. He's like, dude, I got to the thing. It's great. Well, I think, don't quote me on that. I think he liked it. But he certainly had a lot more to say. But then, it was just like, it's hard to recommend a game where the thing that you're looking forward to is like 50 hours deep.
Yeah.
That's a big commitment.
Yeah, that's tough. Something that isn't 50 hours. Thomas, it looks like you have started playing The Witness.
I've played The Witness a bunch the past couple weeks, and it's fun enough that I'll get stuck on a puzzle, and she'll be able to join me. So The Witness, for those who don't know, is a puzzle game with exploration elements. It's very brightly colored. For the intent of explaining the game, I will say that it has no words at all. It really doesn't have any dialogue. I don't think it has any music. It might have a couple sound elements to it. But I would say this is a great podcast game. This would be a great game to play while you're maybe even watching another TV show or listening to a podcast or something. But we're really enjoying it because I will find myself stuck on a puzzle and Lizzie will figure it out. She'll be like, oh, go up and to the left. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So that's it's always nice to be able to enjoy a game with her that we can both have a good time with. But yeah, brightly colored. The puzzles are constantly teaching you how to play. So you'll get somewhere and you're like, I got to a screen a couple nights ago where I saw this and I was like, am I supposed to already know something going into this, or is this the first one of these? Like the one that's going to teach me the thing. And it turned out that this was the one that was going to teach me the thing. I just experimented until I got it right, and then figured out what the rules were that I was supposed to be following.
Yeah.
So I really like that game. It has such a great sense of discovery, not just with the puzzles that you're solving, because there's a sense of satisfaction that you figured it out on your own. But also, as you complete puzzles, you unlock more areas of this island that you're on. And so you get to see all these beautiful things. I mean, they have great biomes. They have a bamboo forest and a mountain and a swamp and a desert and all these things. It just feels really good to progress in that game because you're constantly seeing new things. So I can't wait to play more of that game. I am loving that right now.
Yeah.
And I've talked to you guys. I've played a ton of Hades. I've played a bunch of games, Spelunky, that are just endless.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also been going back and playing God of War to try to get the platinum. And that's really hard. I'm playing all the in-game content on the hardest difficulty. And I'm still looking forward to getting the platinum in that game. But yowza, that is really, really hard. So I think I'm going to change things up here in 2021, and I'm going to lower the difficulty because I would love to finish some games.
Yeah. And something just about The Witness that I wanted to touch on. That's a game that I felt incredibly jealous of game industry folks, like all being in an office and being able to talk to each other about the game while they were playing it, and like just hearing their excitement about like coming into the office and like comparing notes.
Yeah,
was
I was
like,
thinking
man, that sounds so
the whole
cool.
time I was playing. Because
Yeah.
I remember hearing Giant Bomb folks talking about, and I think Waypoint people too. That was before they were Giant Bomb. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They would be like, "Oh, did you finish the mountain area?" And it's like, "Oh no, but I figured out this thing from the forest area."
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody pop into my stream who has clearly beaten the game through and through. I mean, they knew everything about this game. So when I got stuck, they would very gently encourage me and give me a little hint.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't work because I was rushing and I wasn't paying attention, and they'd give me another little hint. And about 4 hints later, I figured out what I was supposed to be doing. But it was really nice because it was similar. I still was able to share that experience and kind of get some encouragement when maybe I wanted to take a break and come back later. And that felt really nice. In still the age of COVID, where I can't have people over to play this with my friends, that was a great way, a rewarding way to still feel like I was hanging out, with friends and strangers. So that's The Witness. I'm really having a great time with that game, and I think I want more of that this year.
Yeah, I did not beat that game, but I did play like some of that game, and the feeling you're describing of like that moment when something clicks for you in that game. Oh, it's so good. I also I didn't finish that game because it ended up being one where like there were some puzzles where I would just get like way too in my own head, and then I would have to shut the game off, and then the next day I would come back and it would be like really obvious.
Yeah.
But there were just too many times where I shut it off and then didn't quite come back to it. And I ended up forgetting like some of the rules. But I remember like I will never forget like the apple orchard puzzles and how smart I felt when I was like, oh, this is what's going on here.
Yeah.
It's really good.
The entire game is all about perspective in every single way. Not only the puzzles, but this isn't really a spoiler, but throughout the game you'll find video clips and audio clips, and they're all about challenging your perspective. Basically, all the hints that the person on my stream gave me is just like, look at it a different way. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really help me. And I'd walk around and I'd be like, oh, okay, actually, now I understand what you were trying to get me to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a rewarding feeling to really overcome those puzzles, even when some of them are really difficult. The Tetris area, for the record, I'm terrible at. It's the only area that I've had to look up solutions for because I just was fried. I was totally fried when I was looking at those. But I really like that game.
Yeah, I had a similar thing where I got to a point where I turned it off and was like, I'll come back, and then I never ended up going back.
That game 2 other times before this one, each time I thought I was going to keep playing it, but this time I was just like, I just need something fresh that isn't The Last of Us 2. Like I just need to not be completely emotionally drained.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this game is completely the opposite of that game. So
Very
I'm enjoying
much.
that. I want to quickly go through these other things because
Yeah.
I don't want to like talk about what I've been playing for 6 hours like I usually do. Since it's been a while since we've podcasted, one thing I don't have on my list is Red Dead Online. Please don't ask me if it's good because I don't know.
I'm not judging it.
But the 5 hours that Lizzie and I played together were really fun. We have the luxury of having 2 TVs and PlayStations in our living room, so we're
Fancy.
able to play pretty easily. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing in the online mode, but we both like exploring and we both like collecting stuff. So we went to this area of the map where you can pick up quests that basically send you to an area and tell you to go look for something hidden.
Great.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
So we just rode horses around. We spent like 2 hours customizing our outfits, and we would go around and we'd search for specific wildflowers or tarot cards that were hidden in usually pretty clever ways. So, like I said, I don't know if we're not interested in the PvP elements, and in fact, we both appreciate that you can flip a switch that says you're not able to just randomly kill me when you're walking around.
Right.
But yeah, we're just enjoying running around exploring. That's really all we wanted from the game, so that's what we're getting so far.
Did you play the? Did you play like the game?
I played to chapter 3, set it down, thought I would come back to it, and
And
never
then
did.
never did.
So
Yeah.
I'll probably start that game over sometime, maybe this year, on an easier. Can you even choose the difficulty in that game? I don't know. I'd like to see the end of that game because I really liked what I saw, and I don't have a good reason for why I didn't come back to it.
Yeah.
I love exploring the wilderness in games like that. I was talking to my friend Laura about like Cyberpunk versus Red Dead, and The Witcher versus The Witcher versus Cyberpunk, and Skyrim versus Fallout. And something nice about exploring the wilderness in an old wilderness style area is like, who knows what could be in there? There could be a bear in there. There could be bats or spiders.
Yeah.
There could be anything. And then in like future apocalypses, it's like, all right, humans wrecked the place, and now there are poison monsters.
Right.
And it's just like, I wonder what's in the other cave. Oh, it's another poison monster. So yeah, I think I want to go back to just exploring an old wildernessy area. But that game, we played it on Christmas Eve, and not only were there Christmas songs being played on the pianos in the saloons around the world,
Aw.
but there was a little Christmas tree in our camp,
Oh, nice.
and
Aw.
it was great. We really enjoyed it.
That sounds lovely.
Little holiday cheer
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, just same story. It's just a nice way to enjoy a game together, and I will recommend that. I don't know what the rest of the game is like. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but we enjoyed hanging out online together. So
And it's only
See, Thomas
$5
says-
right now.
yeah, $5 for the online only mode.
Yeah.
Right.
Sweet.
That's really
As long as you are rootin' and tootin', that's the entire point.
That's what
That's
I'm
it.
talking about. Titanfall 2 is a game I'm playing through. I think I'm on the very last mission of it. But there's a mechanic that I heard people talking about for so long. Whenever that game came out, it was years ago. I think that game, gosh,
It's like 2
Was
or
it
3 years now, at least.
2016, I want to say.
Well, I'll Google it.
Thank you. I've been playing that, and yeah, there's a mechanic that I don't want to spoil that I thought was really clever, and that game has done some things I wasn't expecting. I enjoy, to beat a dead horse here, I almost always play games on a pretty hard difficulty. So I started that game on a hard difficulty, and I was just like, you know what? I just want to win. I just kind of want to do good.
Yeah, why do you do this to yourself every time?
Yeah, so I bumped it down, and now it's just a power fantasy, and I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying it.
It was
Because-
2016, by the way. October 28th, 2016.
So really enjoying that game. This is not a spoiler. There is there's an area. You're in a factory on one of the levels, and you're slowly but surely climbing to the top of it. And having played, Apex Legends is obviously in the Titanfall universe. And when you're in this factory, they're building building blocks that look a lot. I mean, you could tell it's the similar architecture that you see in Apex. You go to the top of this factory, and at the very end, you rise up, and the dome that's around you is similar to the dome inside of your Titan suit, which is you're basically looking at a giant computer monitor, and it simulates what your camera is seeing, so it looks like you can see outside. Well, you're in this dome that looks like you're out in the wilderness, and the ground is all brought up piece by piece out of this factory, and it starts off flat with a few the frames for like some structures, and slowly but surely all these pieces pop in, like a tree will pop up and some stairs will grow and some light switches will like pop up and then fold out, and the sequence of that simulated area being created was amazing. Like, that was really a moment where I set my controller down and I just wanted to play, like, watch again. Like, I thought that looked amazing. I might even go after this and look up a video of that, because it was completely unexpected, and I was blown away by how good it looked. It's like the first time you see Iron Man's suit get slapped onto him. It was just really satisfying.
Yeah. Just quick interruption. Is that kitty wearing a bow tie? Very gentle.
Happy-ass cat.
Very gentle.
She is.
Or she is. That's adorable.
She can be posh. She can be dapper if she wants.
Very.
So, yeah, I'm trying to play a lot more than just Hades and Spelunky this year. So I'm already off to a good start. I've played a lot more. So I'm going to knock off Titanfall here soon. I'll be hanging out with The Witness for a while, and sink my teeth into Outer Worlds and Death Stranding. And that's all while I'm waiting for the Cyberpunk PS5 patch to come out. So, man, I'm excited.
Yeah, you got some stuff to sink into there.
Heck yeah.
I of course have been playing. I played some Cyberpunk. I finished at least one playthrough of that. I've been watching too much Game of the Year stuff. I've watched MinMax's Game of the Year stuff. They did a whole bunch of stuff. And Cyril Vasquez was really about Kentucky Route Zero, which is a game that I was always very intrigued by. And then hearing him speak about it with, like, it's probably going to be one of his top games he's ever played, I was like, I gotta play that. So it did kind of freak me out a little bit. I was playing it. I played Act 1 in the darkness, and that game can get a little spooky and creepy just because of its tone. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, did I just hear a noise downstairs? What was that? But it is very cool so far. It gives me some serious Mutation vibes, which was my favorite game of last year. And it's cool. It's like an adventure style game where you're kind of making the decisions in the dialogue, but it's written very well. It's hard to describe. It's just moody and atmospheric. It's just very, it's cool. I am trying to do it how you would read a book, where before you go to bed, try to knock out a couple pages or a couple pieces of an act. But I've only finished the first one. Looking forward to getting more into that, because that game, people seem to love it. So, and Reb, have you played it?
My unfortunate story of Kentucky Route Zero, and I won't spoil it for you, is I have played through almost the end of Act 3, and I did that like at the very beginning of last year, like a year ago, like in January. Okay. And I loved it. The game is amazing, and I really want to finish it. However, you will get up to a point in Act 3 where you are asked to do something that is effectively a game within a game. It involves a computer, like an in-game computer, and it is kind of long and time-consuming, and also, like the rest of the game, very weird and winding, and like deliberately does not explain itself. And I had a rather unfortunate evening with that, because I made the poor decision to tackle that part of the game while intoxicated in some way.
Oh yeah.
And things went fine for a while, but there is a point in this game within a game where it becomes very difficult, and a character basically taps your character on the shoulder and says, "Hey, I don't think there's anything more we can do here. Let's go do something else, basically, and we can come back to this and try to deal with it later." And I, in my intoxicated state, did not take the hint. So I just churned and spun my wheels on this stupid thing that I think you can actually win, but it is just very hard and time consuming to do so and does not explain itself. And so I'm just sitting here doing this for like an hour, and then I finally like pass out and fall asleep. And when I wake up, I either turned it off in my sleep or done something to the effect of like I've closed the game and I did not save. And so now I have to, whenever I return to that game, I have to go back through that section again. And it was great. Like, it's not a bad section. It's just I had a not amazing experience with it completely through my own fault. But I really want to finish that game. That was one of my goals for break, and I didn't complete it because I was so caught up in Yakuza. But I really do want to finish Kentucky Route Zero. It is incredible so far, and I have somehow not had the ending spoiled for me. But everybody says it's like incredible, and I just I want to.
I'm excited to dig more into that. Like I said, Mutation is one of my favorite games, and having an adventure game that seems like it's going to hold some weight. There's going to be some emotionally stirring things happening possibly, is kind of what I'm searching for right now. I don't know if it's like, I don't think this is a spoiler or anything, but I don't think Cyberpunk is a profound game. Like, it doesn't, like, some of the thoughts that you have in it in certain side missions make you think and make you go, huh, wow. But I'm looking for something with a little bit more of an emotional weight to it. So, and yeah, people have suggested doing Edith Finch, which has been on my PlayStation forever and just never played. It was a PS Plus game, and I just haven't opened it. But
Edith Finch is good.
Yeah, doing that, and really want to finish Kentucky. Yeah, a game looks really cool, and a part of me, watching all these. All this Game of the Year content stuff, I'm like picking up things and like just trying things out for a little bit because, people that I respect in the gaming community and in coverage are like, this is really great. You should check it out. Like, I think Dan Reichert and Mike Mahardy were like super hard up on Super Mega Baseball 3, which is not something I would be like, I should check that out. But there's like a free demo on PlayStation, and I did check it out, and it is pretty damn cool. But yeah, so another game that I purchased on a whim because it was on sale, but I had kind of had my eye on it just because of the art style. There's a game called Foregone, which when you look at it, you're like, oh, this is like a Dead Cells ripoff or, clone. But
is it the sequel to One Leaves? How many times can I joke about this?
Yes.
I mean, we can get back to the FDA.
This is an anti-vape ad and not necessarily smoking. So it's a little different.
Oh, is that what they were advertising during the Game Awards?
Yeah.
Sorry, that was maybe a weird deep cut if you didn't watch the Game Awards. All the weird like anti-vaping ads.
Yeah, we did a stream of that where we all got rather intoxicated, and so I don't remember that, but
there were anti-vaping ads.
I'm sure there were because they're kind of
there are every year. It's very weird.
But this game Foregone, it's by a company called Big Blue Bubble, and they have only done mobile titles except for this one. So it is Dead Cells like, it's a Metroidvania, and it's pretty good. It's just hard as shit. I have not been able to get, I got through like the first area, and now I'm in the second area, and it's hard, but the kind of twist that they do, where it's not like Dead Cells, is there is gear that drops, and it's a looter-vania, I guess. I don't know how you would describe that. But items have rarity. You have like a sword style weapon, which there's like spears and heavy swords and all these things which make your character move differently. There is gunchucks, which are nunchucks, but with guns.
No way.
They're awesome.
Obviously, that's all you need.
That's all you really need. There's like a bow and arrow and just regular guns. There's all these different things, but it's interesting that it's loot. There's like armor and like rings and all these kind of things. So I'm just starting off on it, but it seems like it's going to be really cool. The art style is very good, especially for being what some would consider like a clone of Dead Cells, or it kind of comes off as, oh, well, that game was popular, so let's do something like that. But so far, it's really well done. You don't really lose anything. If you die, you like lose your coins that you've built up or your upgrade materials, but not really, because after you die, you come back to like this like main little hub area, and this shaman lady is like, hey, do you want to make a deal with me, but you get half of your components and things back? And you're like, yeah, I would like to have some of my stuff back, and like, but everything else will disappear. And I haven't seen any downside to doing that, so I just keep doing it over and over until later on in the game when it comes back to bite me. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's a lot deeper than I thought it would be. And yeah, check it out. It's called Foregone, Foregone.
I mean, that looks a lot like Sundered, so we already know that's your jam.
Sundered is so good. Yeah, I do love Sundered. And that's different too, because that Sundered, it's not like it is a Metroidvania, but it's procedural, so it changes each time, and like you can get swarmed by enemies in that randomly. But yeah, it's really cool.
So that came out early-ish last year.
Foregone. I think it came out not that long ago. I'd have to double check. It came out sometime this past year, because I remember I saw that it was coming out, so I sent some emails to the devs to see if we could possibly get a code to maybe do a review of it. We did not, but I went ahead and bought it and supported a small developer.
Sounds like that opportunity is
foregone.
Thank you, Reb.
I don't know where Cam is, but he's making an air horn noise somewhere.
That is perfect. Well, that's pretty much it. That's it for me, so we can move on to another topic. Do you guys want to take a quick break really quick and run to the bathroom and do anything we need to do like that? Not sure when Devi's going to pop in here, but...
Oh, I was going to make the joke. I was going to say, and Devi, what have you been playing?
Yeah, Devi, what have you been working on?
All right. Well, that's great. Yeah, I think we can run a break. Man, she really covered a lot in a short amount of time.
Very quickly.
Yeah. I didn't realize how many games the FDA had put out this year.
Right?
Oh my God.
It's a lot. They're like their own little publisher. We're going to do what we did on the Ray Apollo episode. For him, we asked him streaming and gaming content creator questions. And for Reb, we're going to dive into her expertise on gaming journalism and gaming food. And my first question to kick things off, just kind of get the ball rolling here, is how did you get into games journalism?
Well, completely by accident, which seems to be a common story, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I graduated college with degrees in English and philosophy, and up until my senior year, I thought I wanted to go into academia, and a series of events my senior year convinced me that was not my path. So I just sort of got a job, as a technical writer. I was doing like aviation writing, just to pay the bills. It was fine. I mean, it was boring. It was like, read things and write stuff about them, whatever. But I was bored. And like I wanted some kind of creative outlet now that I had, stability. And I had a friend, my friend Bill, who told me that he wrote just sort of for fun on a sports blog that was part of this larger network called the Fansided Network, and he told me that they had a video game website at the time called Gamesided that was looking for video game writers. And I told him, man, I don't know anything about video games. Like I played video games, obviously. Like I liked Pokemon a lot. I'd been playing Assassin's Creed, but I didn't really have like any kind of deep knowledge. I was like very like shallow, like casual level video game player. But he's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like you know how to write, and you can write intelligently about things, and it's not like high. It's not like high intensity. It's just, for fun. So if you want to do it, you should do it. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I applied, and they liked my writing, and they picked me up. And so I started writing like on a completely voluntary basis, which don't do people. But at the time I thought that was a good idea. I started writing for them, and I realized I really liked it. And it's sort of a long story, but I did it for several years, and I just fell in love with writing about games, and I ended up pushing really hard. I started getting paid for it eventually. I I pushed myself. I kind of turned it into a part-time job basically once I started getting paid. And I was still working my full-time job, but I was doing it on the side. And I eventually, when they changed the name of the site from Games Sided to App Trigger, I got promoted to co-editor alongside Daniel, who's the other editor at the time. And we worked together. We paid our way to E3. E3 2017, and it was like life-changing. I knew when I went there that was what I wanted to do. I talked to developers while I was there, and I realized that what I wanted to do is I wanted to tell the stories about how games got made. I wanted to listen to people who made games talk about their babies all the time. So that year I decided, I was having a nice time writing for App Trigger, but it wasn't paying enough, and I needed some kind of better income. So that year I pushed really, really hard alongside my full-time job. I started doing freelance writing and pitching to other outlets. I got pieces in Wirecutter, which is not games, but it is like tech reviews, and that was really good experience. I got a piece in PC Gamer. I started doing some mobile games guide freelancing for GameZebo. I did stuff for Mobile Nations. So I wrote for a whole bunch of places, and then at the end of the year, I had applied for this job in January of 2018 with GamesIndustry.biz, and I didn't think there was any way in hell they'd hire me because they were a business, they're a trade publication. I didn't know anything about business. But a few months later, they called me and asked for an interview, and one thing led to another, and they hired me, and like. Absolutely wild how that happened, but so I basically made the jump from what was really more blogging, and I had been running like a website with someone else. Like we had a staff of like between 9 and 15 people at any given point. We were like we got on Metacritic, we were doing reviews, like we were serious, but it wasn't like there wasn't any income in it, and so getting to move to full time was a really big deal, and it was also a big transition because I went from like blogging and kind of like criticism to journalism, like news reporting and investigations and things like that. Right. And that was a big jump, but that's what I've been doing since, and I love it. I love it so much.
That's great.
Yeah.
Who has a
not jealous at all.
We're really well spoken, Chris and I. Yeah. We're like pretty cool.
Video games.
Video games are cool.
We think? Possibly?
All over.
Carlos, you have a question for Reb?
Yes. I had to pare them down. So now that we have all this data for game purchase trends from 2020, we have kind of an example of the height of revenue that gaming has hit. I mean, obviously because of the pandemic, but I was just wondering, what do you think is more important to a game's success, the developer or the publisher, and why that might be?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think that's kind of I don't know, that's like a hard question, because like obviously like without a developer you don't have a game, right? Like you don't have one at all, so I guess that's the technically correct answer, right? And I wouldn't like ever want to like pit those two sides against one another, because like plenty of games launch with no publisher at all, and I do think it's interesting. I guess like more of the meat of this question would be like what do publishers actually do? And I think that's something that like a lot of people don't fully understand, right? And the answer is different depending on the game you're looking at. Like, I mean, when you look at a company like Nintendo, which develops and publishes its own games, like it has these internal teams that actually make the games, and then it does everything on its side, the marketing, the localization, the communications, I guess it's already on its own platform, so it doesn't have to like work with other platforms, but like basically everything from start to finish, like Nintendo handles, they're both a developer and a publisher. But when you look at, games that are made by third parties and put on, Xbox or PlayStation or PC, there's so many different things that publishers do that you don't really think about. You don't really know, like the publisher's just kind of a name attached to it, right? Mm-hmm. And the answer is they can do a lot of different things. They can do the marketing, they can do all of the stuff where you take the game and you actually get it on different platforms and like negotiate deals for that to happen. They can do PR campaigns, they can do localization and QA and translation and things like that. They can offer like different kinds of support, or they can offer very little support. It all depends on kind of what those deals entail, and so developers are necessary for games to actually get made in the first place, and publishers aren't always necessary depending on the game, but a really good publisher can be absolutely key for taking a game that, might have been really good and might have done well, but might not have made much of a splash, to getting that game in front of more people, and playable by more people, and, maybe polishing it in some way by giving advice or direction, depending on their relationship. So yeah, like, I don't know that there's one that's necessarily more important to a game's success than the other, because like developer is absolutely necessary and publisher can be make or break, but like, yeah, I don't know. I can't really answer that question.
If I can piggyback off of that, I've been trying to figure out what my opinion is on the definition of an indie developer.
Oh no!
Like 6 years ago, an indie developer meant you're independent, right? You're independently making this game. You're probably pretty small, and by you being independent doesn't say anything about the style of your game. But when somebody says an indie game, they aren't thinking of like AAA graphics, right? They're usually thinking of cutesy or somehow very
artistic,
stylistic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like very stylized art direction.
Yeah.
When I look at Hades is an indie game. It's also a huge undertaking. And so, yes, they are independent, but they're so much bigger than what I had thought of an indie studio to be, 6 years ago. Are they still independent? Yes. But like 10 years from now, I'm trying to figure out if I think that the usefulness of the current term of an indie game will mean the same thing, because it's possible to do so much more as time goes by without a publisher, for example, or basically you can create so much more without having a powerhouse just funding you. And that question just really reminds me of that struggle I'm trying to have, because I thought Hades was my game of the year last year, but I almost struggle to call it an indie game because its scope is just so big.
I think you can still call it an indie game. I think you can call it an indie game. So, like, I guess the definitions that I would use is like, okay, so we know what a AAA game is. Like, we know it's like big budget, owned by a big company that has piles of money, large amounts of employees to make things, owned by one of the big publishers or one of the big gaming companies, or affiliated with them in some way. And like on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have indie games, which are independent studios, small teams, small budgets. And I think Hades falls into that. I mean, I don't know what their budget for that game is, but I know their team is not large. I know they were working on it for a long time. And I know they had funding. I mean, like Supergiant, this is their fourth game. They are well known for making good games. I have not read the story of where their funding came from, but I assume that they did not have too many problems getting good funding for that game. But we're also not talking about, the, I don't know what, millions of however many dollar budgets that we're looking at for like Call of Duty or something like that.
Right.
But I think you can talk about things in between, right? So like I had to look it up because I couldn't remember what it was, but like Mediatonic is the studio behind Fall Guys. They are an independent studio. They are not owned by like Sony or Take-Two or any of those people. They're an independent studio, but they've got like 230 employees and a pretty sizable marketing budget if you've taken a look at Fall Guys at any point. So like at one point, like I've got their Wikipedia page open, at one point they were a work for hire studio that was making Flash games. That was an indie studio back then. Now with 230 people in 4 studios and part of the Tonic Games group, that's not an indie studio anymore, but it is still independent. So like there's kind of that distinction I think you can make. I think like indie is helpful as like a denoter of like, for people for like, small teams, small budgets, especially if you're someone who wants to support that kind of thing. And independent is just like denotes that, no one else really owns them. There was kind of an attempt to make like AA fashionable for a while. Like I think people were using it a lot for, I've lost my mind. What's the Hellblade Senua Sacrifice studio?
Ninja Theory.
Ninja Theory. People were using it for Ninja Theory a lot, and then Ninja Theory went and got acquired, so I can't use that anymore. I don't know that it's necessarily a useful conversation, and I think that's what you're running into, Thomas, is like an impossible question right now, because like people were calling Ori and the Blind Forest an indie game, and I guess Moon Studios is independent, but
Yeah,
Like
'cause
they
my-
had all the Xbox backing, so
the reason I found myself asking that question is I would talk to people at my blue collar job, and they'd be like, "Oh, what game?" Or, "Oh, you play games? I play games too. I play, Call of Duty, and Fortnite."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you play?" And I'm like, based on the conversation we were having, I was like, "You're not going to know a single
yeah.
game that I play." So I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Well, I play indie games like this, this, and this." And they're like, "Oh yeah, what's an indie game?" And I'm just like, man, I am less confident with my answer than I was a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I think small teams, small budget, little games.
And in the end, it doesn't really matter because the games are great.
Yeah.
Either way, yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Whether they punch above their budget weight like Hades does or not, honestly.
Yeah.
Or if they make like $4 million, like Among Us might have.
Well,
Yeah, well,
like
but the thing is, Among Us probably. I mean, I don't know how much Among Us is made, but like Among Us is probably not raking it in because everything everything in the game is so cheap. It's so cheap. Like
But-
I've seen, I do the charts every month for games industry for like digital sales, and for the last like several months, like Superdata has had a footnote because Among Us is not on there anywhere, and they have like a little footnote, and they're like Among Us's player like monthly active users or whatever was like way up here, and their revenue was way up here,
Yeah.
but they're not on the charts because I don't know, like Pokemon Go makes way more money than they do or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that, I'm interested to see what like the success of Spiritfarer does for Thunder Lotus.
Yeah.
Because that game seems like it's on every game of the year list I've seen so far.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a very large team, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
It's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
it didn't seem like it was a big one, but
No.
they could be next year. with-
Yeah, I mean,
with
I feel
all
like
that
it's going to
stuff.
skyrocket them to hundreds of employees. And I think, I mean, not to get like too into the weeds here, but I think that especially with teams kind of like, I mean, I can't speak for Thunder Lotus, but with teams like Thunder Lotus and Supergiant, with a lot of those teams that are coming out with these like indie darlings, I have noticed kind of a sentiment among a lot of teams to want to stay small.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to get you know what, I've talked to the Dead Cells folks about this too, and that's
yeah.
actually one of the reasons why they split off into Motion Twin and Evil Geniuses. And I can't remember which one is which, but there's the one studio that's going to continue work on Dead Cells, and then there's the other studio that's going to make new games. And one of them was like, we are a worker co-op. We don't want to get bigger than 15 people. We want to just keep things small and localized because we think that's the best way to make games. And the other people are like, no, we want to do like more ambitious things. We want to grow. And so they're still the same company, but they like split off because they had these two different philosophies. And I think when you look at a lot of the indie darlings, a lot of them are either people who have come up in this industry and have seen kind of like the crunch and the worker exploitation at like the top levels of the games industry and be like, I don't want to be a part of that. Or they're people who came out of that and said, I never want to do that again.
Right.
And so now they want to have these small teams where they like take care of each other and like work normal hours and still make money and still make really good games. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Sorry, that was a weird tangent.
No, that was great.
That was great.
Not at all. Like that's exactly. I really appreciate your answer coming from somebody that actually gets to speak to those people, as their career. That's what I'm looking for. Like, yeah, my question was technically didn't have a real answer, but that's kind of what we want to hear more of anyway. Is that a little bit more of the depth on that side of things. I mean, one of my favorite current publishers is Chucklefish, and they developed my favorite game right now, Wargroove. But then they published so many other things. They actually published Stardew on Switch, but didn't really have anything to do with the development. So those two things are something that the normal gamer isn't always going to have that delineation.
Yeah.
They have no real idea of that, and so anytime we can get more insight into that, it's very appreciated.
Absolutely. Also, I'm a huge Starbound fan. I played that
Yeah.
years ago. That was the game that I wrote a sample piece on in my application to Game-Sided.
Awesome.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The question we had from the community was, what is your dream interview? I want to take that. You've said that basically you love talking to people to hear about their babies, right?
Yeah.
Who is
They're
someone...
video game babies, to be
They're
clear.
video game babies.
I mean, I'm sure their regular babies are fine too.
Not at all.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Not that
who
interesting.
is someone that you have not spoken to about their video game baby that you would love to? I can also tie this in. You've got your the Cozywood Kitchenette podcast. Is there someone on there that you would love to talk to?
Oh wow. Honestly, like this is I feel like a really cheesy, like easy answer, but every couple years, someone in games journalism gets flown out to Japan and they get to go to Game Freak and they get to go talk to the Pokemon people. And like there'll be like I remember there's been a feature in Game Informer, a couple other outlets have had features. It's like every couple of years, and it's always like this big like expansive feature about, and they get to interview like everybody and they get to talk about the new Pokemon game they're working on. One day I want that feature. I want to go to Game Freak and I want to talk to the people who make Pokemon because I love it. I love that game so much, and like there's so much joy in that series and so much like creativity and weirdness, and I want to like exist in that. That is like the dream interview. I showed up at Games Industry right after I think an opportunity for something like that passed us by, and skewer me right through the heart. I want that. I want to do it so bad someday.
Just to be like 20 feet from Masuda. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. I've been. Reggie stood behind me about like 3 or 4 feet behind me while I was playing ARMS in a Nintendo booth one time. He had nothing to do with me. He was talking to somebody else, but I just like felt he's very tall. Like I just feel this presence, and I'm short. I feel like this presence behind me, and I glance out the corner of my eye and I'm like, oh my god, what do I do? Like keep playing ARMS really badly is what I did, and that was not the good choice. And then on my way out, Bill Trinan was sitting on a couch, and I don't know what the hell prompted me to do this, but I smiled and waved at him, and he smiled and waved back. He had no idea who I was. Why did I do that? That's my weird. My weird brush with Nintendo stardom. I don't know about podcast guests. Because I just started the podcast, and so basically everybody that I could possibly invite on is like a dream guest, right?
Right.
Like I have like this massive list of people. Ask me that question again in a year when I've had like a good preliminary chunk of people on, and we'll see who I'm still missing.
There you go.
Deal.
I will go ahead and ask one of Devi's questions. I feel like her first question I'm not going to word correctly, so I'm going to
because you can't read it without like hearing it in her voice.
Right, and I'm like, this isn't going to sound right. So I will do her second question.
Can you do an impression of her?
Oh no, I don't think that would be. No.
I think that'd be bad for everybody.
Yes.
Oh, maybe that would be mean. I didn't mean to suggest anything that was.
Oh no. I think maybe the four of us should spend some more time around each other so we can comfortably, like, unintentionally mock each other.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But I'll do her second one here. It's good. What inspired you to take on the task of creating recipes inspired by those seen in video games? And second part to that question is, have you ever tackled food shown in other media, like Studio Ghibli meals?
Oh, okay. So the first part of that, again, like everything I do now is by accident. I did not sign up for any of this initially. So I did not, this is like weird personal life story stuff. I did not grow up in a household where we did a lot of cooking. I didn't know how to cook growing up. I didn't really learn anything about cooking until I went to college, had like my senior year, was in the senior dorms where they have like a little tiny kitchen. And my roommate was cooking, and I had like this revelatory moment where I came in and she was like, this was like the simplest dumb thing in the world. She had bought like a package of like ravioli at the store and was like cooking it in a pot on the stove. But she had made like her own homemade sauce for it. And I was watching her. I just walked in and smelled it and saw her doing this. I was like, wait, we have a stove. I could just do this. Like, this is not, there is no barrier between me and doing this. And so I started the following year I ended up getting married and like moving into a tiny little rental where I had a kitchen. And so I started trying to cook. And I wasn't great at first. I was doing like hamburger helper kind of stuff, but I was, I learned a few things. And then for some mad reason, that year I decided to have my parents over for Christmas dinner. And I am very much oh my god, I need to like make sure my mom likes this type. And I did prep beforehand. I bought a turkey. I did prep before. I knew you had to thaw it in the fridge for like several days beforehand, so I did not make that horrible decision. And I knew kind of what I needed to do in terms of like, salt rubs and stuff like that. Like I had a vague idea. But I woke up that morning and I realized that I had not like actually decided on a recipe to do with this turkey.
Oh no.
And so I was like panicking, and the previous evening I had done Christmas Eve with a different family, and they had given me the World of Warcraft cookbook because I was playing World of Warcraft at the time. And on the front of this cookbook there is a picture of this beautiful roast turkey. And I was like, is that in there? And so I opened it up, and there's a recipe for slow roasted turkey, and it was not hard. Like, and I had all the ingredients. It's like onions and apples and things. And I'm like, wait, I can do this. And I did it, and it was really good. And like, I was successful, and I was proud of myself. And then a couple days later, like, I opened it up and I just kind of did another recipe on a whim, and then I did another one. And after a couple weeks, I realized I had done like 10 recipes in this cookbook of 100 recipes. And I opened the table of contents and I like kind of checked off the ones I had done. And then I looked at it and I was like, I could just do all of these.
Yeah.
And so I did. Like over the next year and a half, I cooked every recipe in that cookbook. And
Nice.
then that was the piece that I wrote and got accepted into PC Gamer when I was like freelancing and trying to get into games writing. And like, it was really successful and people liked it. And so the following year, when the Elder Scrolls cookbook came out, I decided, screw it, I'll work through this one too. And that one I think had like 70 or 80 recipes. I did all those in a year. And then at this point, this was a thing I was doing. And so I bought the Mother's Cookbook, which is Earthbound, and I cooked my way through that. I think I finished, when did I finish that? I finished that like midway through last year. And I have the Legends Cookbook now, which is the one that I'm currently working through. I think I'm like 8 or 9 recipes in it. It's not quite 100 recipes in that one. So that's the one I'm currently working through. But at some point as I was doing this, like I accidentally gained a bunch of skills. And I'm still not like an amazing chef. Like I don't understand the chemistry of food. I'm sure somebody who like was watching me cook would be like, why the hell are you doing it like that? There's a much more efficient way to do that. Like,
Yep.
like I don't have like a bunch of skills, but I do like understand some things about cooking and food. And I've gotten to the point where I can, for the most part, like look at recipes and understand what to do with them. And so I thought, and I understand what things go together and what things don't. And so there was a point like last year where I like podcasting. I really, really like podcasting. I don't like streaming. I don't like content creation. I love writing and I love podcasting. And I decided that I really love doing podcasting, but I was tired of having all of my podcast stuff be other people's stuff. And I say that not to insult you all. I love being on other people's podcasts, but I wanted something that was mine.
Yeah.
I get
Like
it.
I didn't just want to be the person who's on everyone else's podcasts. And so I started thinking what I could do, and like everybody has a video game podcast already. And so I was trying to think like, what can I do that is different and that is me? Because I don't want to like put a lot of effort into this and just, like not have it be anything. And I kept making all these video game foods. And the thing is, I'm not like a brilliant, like creative chef. I can't like make up these amazing, like dramatic recipes on my own. People are always like, are you going to write a video game cookbook? No, I can't do that. I mean, maybe one day, but like right now I have no skills towards that. But I ended up coming up with this idea of like a podcast where I could use like my interviewing skills while also, modifying recipes that I already knew and like the knowledge that I have learned from all this time doing this. And so I ended up putting it together and coming up with Cozy Wood Kitchenette. And yeah, I love it. It's happening. It's working. I have made 3 episodes. I have a 4th one prepared. It's actually a thing that has happened. And that's very weird.
Yes.
Sorry, the second part of that question was if I've tackled food shown in other media. I haven't done any Studio Ghibli, unfortunately. That would be really good,
one,
actually,
yeah.
now that I think about it. Oh my god. I think the closest I've come is I actually have I have a cookbook. I have the Game of Thrones cookbook, which is by the same author
yeah.
who did World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, Hearthstone, a whole bunch of others. And I've done some recipes out of that one. That one's really interesting because it's very heavily based in like medieval cooking and like historical recipes. And so there's a lot of like interesting like historical factoids in that one. I haven't cooked all the way through that book, but I've done some of the recipes in it. And I also was given the Dungeons and Dragons cookbook for Christmas. So at some point I'll probably do some out of there.
Nice.
But yeah, that's probably the closest I've gotten. I don't think I've tried to recreate anything out of any other forms of media before, but I don't know. Maybe I would. Video games are kind of my thing, I guess.
When I was a kid, and even now, I've always wanted to have the feast from the movie Hook that they're having, all their imaginary food.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
yeah.
all of that looks amazing, even though it's not real. I want to know how to make all of that.
The first chili I've ever made was with the World of Warcraft cookbook.
The Dragon's Breath chili, yeah.
Yeah, the Dragon's Breath chili, which I remember that item from the game, and it wasn't nearly as spicy as I thought it would be. I should have read where it says, "Hey, this actually isn't very spicy. Feel free to make it spicier." But I learned how to cook I learned how in the world to cook chuck steak. I didn't even know what chuck steak was, and now I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't cook a lot, but I really enjoyed that, and that's one that I go back to when it's cold out.
Yeah, that's what I love about those cookbooks is they have forced me to experiment with ingredients I never would have picked up. I have the steaming chicken soup I have leftovers in my fridge right now from making that earlier. That's become one of my go-to recipes because it's like it's so good and it's like very wintry because it's got like juniper berries and stuff in it. And you can make little dumplings to go in it. And I've like started modifying it. Like I don't do peas because I don't like peas, but I think I added like I don't remember what vegetable I added this time, but I added a vegetable that's not supposed to be in it, and I did rosemary in the dumplings instead of dill because I like that better. And so I started, doing my own twists on it. And yeah, that's good.
That's great.
If someone is interested in getting into games journalism, what advice would you give them?
Whew. Oh, that's really hard. So, games journalism is a tough one to recommend to people, and I don't say this to like crush people's dreams, because if it's something you really want to do, then it's something you really want to do. But like it's tough because it's a small industry. Like there are a lot of people trying to do it. There are very, very few jobs out there, and the ones that are out there, some of them pay pretty well, but a lot of them, most of them even, do not pay nearly what you are worth. And it's hard. And I recognize that I am like a skilled person, but I was also extremely lucky to get the opportunities that I did. I am very lucky, and there are a lot of really talented people out there who are doing really good work who have not had the opportunities that I have. So if it's something that you want to do, if you just want to write about games for fun, if you just like games and want to like review them or write about things on your blog, then just do that. Like you don't need to have a full-time job in games journalism to write about games. You can make like a Medium blog, you can make like a WordPress blog or whatever. You could just write about games. Like no one's going to stop you from doing that. And that can be a really good way to decide if it's something that you like doing or not. I think like my main advice is if you really do want to start getting serious about it, do that first. Make your own space, like a Medium blog or WordPress blog, and just start writing about the things that you care about, and kind of feel out what do you want to do. Do you want to do so? Journalism is like reporting. If you want to do reporting, then I would suggest like finding ways to get journalism experience, whether that's through school or whether that's through experience at maybe non-gaming publications. Like if you're in school, maybe like internships, or if you're not in school, like finding a career path, towards journalism in general. If reporting is not what you want to do, if you want to do like criticism, or if you want to do like kind of blogging and, other types of things, commentary and stuff like that, then, finding a space like a blog of some kind to write those kinds of things and practice is a really good way to do it. Because the thing is, there are very few jobs and you're going to need to show, that you have some kind of experience writing about games in order to get those jobs. And there are a lot of, I don't want to call them jobs because that's not what they are, but there are a lot of like very, very small outlets out there that don't have a lot of money, that might try to get you to write for them for like exposure, but don't have a lot of exposure to give. Or there are larger companies out there who have money, but are just trying to like get people to write about games for free or very low amounts of money, who can very much exploit people who just want a job in the industry by telling them that, oh, you'll get read by our readers, but you are doing like tons of work for no money. And it is honestly so much better to just write for yourself. If you're not going to get paid either way, write for yourself. Don't write for a company that is going to make money off of you. But yeah, put that portfolio together, get some things together, so that you have at least like, some stuff to show people, and then start pitching. That's like kind of the way to get your foot in the door, is to find outlets that are looking for pitches for articles and start pitching. Places don't, unless you have like reporting skills and you have a story that you want to break, or like some kind of interview, investigative thing that you want to do, most places aren't looking for like news reporters to freelance for them, unless again like you have a story already and you're trying to shop it around, and that's a whole different ballgame. They're also usually not looking for reviews. They have people on, some places are, but most people like already have people on staff to do reviews. So pitching people reviews is not usually a great way to go about it. Doing really good like critical work or like feature writing work, or having interesting angles or interesting takes on whatever games are popular, whatever games are interesting to you, or whatever games you are passionate about, especially if they are fairly current. Those are good things to pitch to outlets. It can be really hard to find information about who is taking pitches about what. The best way to do that is to follow follow the outlets that you want to pitch to and the outlets that you like reading on Twitter or on, you know, whatever social media platform. Twitter is honestly where everyone is.
Yeah.
And then follow the editors of those outlets. Follow their features editors, follow their editors in chiefs, and just keep an eye on them. Like make like a Twitter list or whatever of those people, and keep an eye on them, because that's how you find out things. Like they will tweet, "Hey, we're looking for people who are playing Fortnite who would be able to write some words about it for us. You know, here's the email to send it to." And that's usually the best people, the best way to sort of keep tabs on who's looking for pitches. And then just start pitching. Just start doing it. As soon as you have an email for whoever takes pitches at that outlet, start sending pitches. Practice pitching. Get better at it. You're going to get rejected a lot. That's how it works. Everybody gets rejected a lot. But once you know kind of where to pitch, and once you start, you know, pitching, the more pitches you send out, you know, eventually, ideally, if you're playing your cards right and you're writing well enough, ideally you will be accepted eventually. So you just got to keep trying. And once you have, you know, that first credit somewhere, then you can use that and say, hey, I have been published here before. Here is my pitch for you. And you can keep going. And once you've worked with one outlet before, they might be more amenable to working with you again. And at that point, you start building more of a professional portfolio. It's slow going and it's hard, but it is doable. It's just kind of a confusing network, and I wish that there was like a better like centralization of resources for people who want to get into it, because there are a lot of really talented people who want to get into it, but there's just like not a lot out there for them.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I asked the question, in case somebody is listening or watching that is interested in those kind of things, and they can possibly learn something. So.
Yeah, I think the other advice I would give is to read a lot. Read a lot of writing. Don't read just games writing. I mean, do read games writing. Like find the outlets that you love and read games writing. Find writers you care about. You know, follow them, follow their work, and kind of like think hard about like what you like about their writing. And don't like copy that. You know, write how you write. But you know, think about the things that you like and why you like them, and you know, try to identify, you know, how you can, I guess, like emulate that in your own work, like, you know, like how you can like your own work better, I guess. But then also read things that aren't games writing and aren't news. You know, read books, read, just other things. Read read journalism that isn't games writing. Read lots of different things and get a good feel for different kinds of writing styles, and that will help better your own work too.
Nice. I think that's great advice.
What do you think is the single most helpful thing that an individual gamer can do to improve the industry that we all put so much energy into?
Oh man, one thing.
Question.
Yeah, and this is simply because I know that you know, there's a whole lot that we get into. We don't always get into the deep stuff. That's something that we'll do for certain content every once in a while, but I know that you do a whole lot of work for social justice, and I really appreciate it and enjoy it. But I feel like there's at least one thing, obviously, that each gamer can bring to the table personally to improve where we are all at. And I just want to know if there's something that gets you in particular.
You know, like my editor, Brendan Sinclair at Games Industry, really early on when I started writing for them, we were kind of, I don't remember what happened, like some horrible thing in the world had happened recently. And we were talking about it, you know, kind of in the work chat, and like we were talking about how frustrating it was, because like we write about video games, right? Like it's video games. Like video games we are not going to make world peace happen. We are not going to change the world. We were not going to change the outcome of that, you know, whatever that horrible event was that happened that day. But he kind of said this thing where he was like, you know, yeah, you're right. We're not going to like magically change the world. The things that we write about and do on a day-to-day basis are not going to like, you know, make a dramatic shift in what's happening right now. But we can clean up our little tiny corner of the world. We can make it like a little bit better just day to day. And that really stuck with me. And that's been something that I've kind of carried with me. Like I'm not like a politician. I'm not like a world leader, but I'm like a person who can just like exist on a day-to-day basis and try to be kind and empathetic in my own like day-to-day life. And I think, I know that's like maybe like kind of pithy advice, but I mean, I think that's it, right? Like a lot of gaming communities are like toxic as shit. And there's like just a lot of like weird racist crap and a lot of weird sexist crap, and like people can be really awful. And I think just like by being like an aggressively kind and empathetic person, just in everything, like whether you're playing games online with other people or whether you're on Twitter, like deciding whether or not you need to respond to something that like has nothing to do with you, or maybe you just really liked a game and you want to just like sort of send a little tweet out to the developer and say, hey, this was great, I love this, thank you for making it. Like whatever position you're in, if you can just like be like focus on trying to be like an aggressively kind person, I think that ultimately will make the industry, but it makes the world better, and I think it makes the industry better too. I think the more like kindness and consideration that we have, you know, I don't know, maybe that can help balance out some of the bad. I know it's like pithy, but there's like, I mean, yeah, sure, there's like tons of things. Like you can, you know, try to support independent developers, or you can, I don't know, like try to make spaces, like more inclusive gaming spaces, for people, and make like safe spaces where people can show up in game and, you know, not have to worry about, you know, shitty behavior from other people. I mean, there's lots of different like individual things people could do, but I think like all of that kind of comes back to just like try really hard to be like a kind and empathetic and inclusive person just in your day-to-day life, and let that carry over into your gaming.
Excellent answer.
I appreciate it.
I don't know if that's a good answer.
That's good. Thomas.
Last one from the community is, this is kind of just off the wall here. What fantasy elements would you bring to life if you could? This could be anything.
Oh,
great.
fantasy elements? Oh, I didn't think hard enough about this question
I mean,
beforehand.
People, Thomas, come on.
For me, I always just think of like almost what superpower would I have, because no matter what
Dragons?
this is, my answer's probably flight.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I don't know. I think I would love to have like low level magic, right? Like not like fireballs, not like kind of magic, but like low level, like convenient, like everyday magic. Like maybe you can, I don't know. I'm like a cozy person. Like we just talked a lot about cooking. Like I would like to make my plants grow like a little bit better and, you know, a little bit faster. And I would like to have like a sense that would let me kind of know that the spice was a little bit off in this cooking, or I would like to have something that would like help my cats understand me just like a little bit better. So like when one of them is sick and I have to give it medicine, just like help my cat, you know, even if I can't like talk to it directly, just like help it understand, I know you hate this, but please take this medicine. You will feel better. I promise. Just trust me, please. You know, like little things like that. I would love like low level, like just convenient, like bettering magic. Like if everybody could just like have access to that, or if people could have access to little bits of it, I think that would be pretty cool.
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, that's a good one. Question really quick. Have you ever made dubious food?
Oh, lots of times. I've gotten pretty good at cooking. I'm not great at baking. Baking is hard. Baking is more chemistry. I have made some very questionable. Actually, my rule with all the cookbooks I do, this is for Cozy Wit Kitchenette. I actually have to make things well because I record it. But for all the cookbooks I do, my rule is I have to finish the recipe, and I have to finish the recipe to a point where it is edible, consumable by humans in some way, and I have to try one bite of everything. And as long as I meet that rule, it's done. So like multiple of the recipes in like the World of Warcraft cookbook and the Elder Scrolls and Mother's cookbook, those were not good. I think I tried to make the honey candy I don't remember what it was actually called. I think it was in the Elder Scrolls cookbook. There was like a honey candy of some kind, and I ended up with just like a piece of parchment paper with like a lump of honey on it. Like it wasn't anything. I did not make anything, but all the ingredients had been combined and all the steps had followed, and it was edible. So I ate a spoonful. I was like, "This is nothing," and I threw it away. And I felt bad for wasting food, but sometimes that happens. The Mother's cookbook, the final recipe I did has a recipe called Pink Cloud Cotton Candy, which is hand pulled cotton candy. Folks, that is so hard. It is so hard to do. It tells you in the book, it's like, be warned, you will probably not get this right the first try. I didn't get it right the first or second try. I got closer the second try, but the end result ended up being just kind of like a pile of pink sugar. It wasn't anything, but I did make it and I did try it, and it was certainly something. Yeah, I've had more baking and candy failures than I had cooking flavors, because I think it's harder to ruin soup. But I have ruined soup before too, so.
Here.
Devi, do you have any questions for Reb?
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
a really
That's a good one, but I don't
Yeah.
think that I'm in a position to answer that.
Quality question.
I don't
though.
think we have enough time to answer that
Yeah,
one.
that's a whole podcast. On
Yeah,
its
that's a
own,
deep one.
honestly.
That's a 10-page article. Thomas, you want to hop into this community spotlight stuff really quick?
So I'll just go through some of these. What was your first console?
Console or handheld? Does handheld count?
Sure. It's whatever you want.
Always.
Okay, Game Boy Color. If we're talking anything, console was GameCube.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah.
The
And I
best.
promise I'm older than that makes me sound. I just started gaming late.
You are the first person to name GameCube as your first one.
Yeah.
Great one though.
Is there a specific video game that made you fall in love with video games?
I don't know. Honestly, probably Pokemon. Probably Pokemon Gold and Silver. That
Yeah,
was
Silver.
Yeah. Those are the games that I got with my Game Boy Color, and I played those, and it's done. It's great.
Here's one. This might be a little tougher, but I want to remind you that there are no wrong answers. So, off the top of your head, if you had to take 5 games as your top 5 of all time.
Okay, just top of my head, not even trying. Chrono Trigger, Undertale, Pokemon Crystal. I don't know the other 2. What's a video game? Animal Crossing. Honestly, probably Animal Crossing New Horizons. Honestly, Animal Crossing New Horizons. And I don't know. What's another video game?
You're looking around the room.
I'm looking for another video game. I don't know.
Games. I don't
I'm
know.
looking to see what I have toys of. I
I
don't.
tell you what, we could come back to that because the next one,
video game
what
is-
is your favorite game soundtrack?
Ooh. Chrono Cross.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the 5th one I'm going to grab here is, do you have any favorite video game characters?
Oh man, these are all so hard. I don't know.
Well,
Characters
no
that have
wrong
food
answers.
base.
I mean, this could be your favorite right this second. It doesn't have to be of all time.
I'm playing so much Yakuza right now.
I was gonna say,
I mean,
it's probably
honestly, Kiryu Majima and Ichiban are all absolutely my heart just explodes every time I see them. So yeah, I don't know. They're probably my favorites right now. Honestly, I'm sure it changes all the time.
Perfect. Well, I love hearing, Chris had mentioned this earlier, I love hearing people talk about Yakuza because they sound exactly how you sound right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And much like your job, it's really fun to hear people be excited about their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
For a 5th video game, this probably isn't actually one of my 5, but I talk all the time about Golden Sun. I love Golden Sun. I will never stop. I will never shut up about Golden Sun. So just throw that one in there. That's great.
perfect.
That's a great one,
So
too.
those are all that's all the heavy lifting. These ones are just bada boom, bada bing. So
Bada bang.
single player or multiplayer?
I love both, but I probably play more single player. So if I'm picking, probably that.
Okay. Mouse and keyboard or controller?
Depends on the game.
Okay.
If I have to do anything that involves precision movement, then I would rather have a mouse. But like platforming, especially, I like having controllers.
Yeah, same. I tried playing Scourgebringer with my keyboard and mouse just to see what it was like playing a platformer with keyboard and mouse. I will say that it's possible, but I need to plug a controller in the next time I play that.
Yes.
Yeah, I finally caved and bought a controller for my PC when I tried to play Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh, that's a serious have to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Have to.
I got as far as the Jinso tree with my mouse and keyboard, and no.
I played Titan Souls, which is you are a person with one piece of health and a bow and arrow where the arrow comes back, and I got to a point where I was like, I think I cannot beat this if I don't have a controller.
Yeah,
like
you
I
have to.
can't make the movements that it wants me to make.
Yeah.
What difficulty do you prefer to play on?
I usually play on whatever the default difficulty is, unless it is a genre that I don't know very well, in which case I will switch to easy. I don't do hard. I just want to play games. I don't need super hard challenges.
Don't take this the wrong way, but you sound like someone who likes fun.
I like having fun. I like games that make me happy. I guess the only other like exception to that is World of Warcraft, because that's the one game I consider myself somewhat skilled in. So I guess rating on heroic difficulty is technically playing on a hard mode of some kind. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's fun.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah. Especially like I like anything co-op, anything I can do with my friends. I mean, we're literally turning Outer Worlds into a multiplayer experience, So
Yeah.
like anytime you can just do something and you got a team on your side is great. Side quests or main story?
I like both, but probably main story. I mean, it's there for a reason.
Yep.
Yep.
And then let's see. I have a couple that I could choose from here. I think our last one's going to be: do you go loud or stealthy?
I go loud in every single game except for Assassin's Creed, and that's the series where I'm really mad that there's no more stealth mechanics. I just want to be a sneaky assassin. But every other game, if there's stealth, I love Breath of the Wild. Actually, Breath of the Wild should have been in my top 5, honestly. That is one of my top 5. I don't know why that wasn't in there earlier.
We'll take out Golden Sun and put that in there.
That's fine.
No.
Yeah.
That's okay. I love Golden Sun, but it really shouldn't be in my top 5. I remember playing Breath of the Wild, and like I love that game like with all my heart. But I get to the Yiga Clan hideout, and it's like you got to sneak around. I'm like, no, I just want to go in and fight. I have so many health items. I'm fine. I have a sword. I'm okay. They won't let you do it.
Man.
Well, cool. Well, that's everything. We'll put that into a thing and we'll publish it on Monday when this goes live. But yeah, part of the reason we have this podcast, part of the reason we've created this community is to take an opportunity to show everyone that there are so many different ways that you can enjoy or be successful in the world of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
We had Ray Apollo on, who's like
a delight
in the business of community,
mm-hmm.
and we had Walt Gray on, who does work with voiceovers and motion capture and all this stuff. And you've got writing. We love doing this because it shows people that anybody can be successful, especially when they're learning from people like you who are like successful with a ton of luck where you just like fell into it.
Yeah.
It really seems like just being persistent and finding what you love is the way to go.
There's an article by Heather Alexandra before she left Kotaku. So it's her farewell to Kotaku. I don't remember what it's called, but if you just look up like Heather Alexandra Kotaku, you can probably find it. And she's a big fan of Skies of Arcadia, and it's kind of like themed around Skies of Arcadia. But I reference that article a lot because she has a paragraph where she's talking to people who think they might want to get into games writing, and she says, if you can do anything else and be happy, then go do that. Like, this is hard and it sucks, and people on the internet are terrible. But if you really can't do anything else, like if you love this, then welcome. It can be really, really great. And if this is what you love, then you should do it and go for it. And I go back to that paragraph a lot.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
Carlos, I'm going to put you on the spot because I usually ask Devi to do this. But do you want to tell people where they can go to follow us?
Sure. I'm a little farther gone than I intended to be, but there is on YouTube we are straight up Party Invite. Mm-hmm. On Twitter we are Party Invite Show, and Instagram same deal there. Of course, our biggest community is on Facebook, just Party Invite, the group and the page. But obviously, most conversation happens in the group. And then, of course, on Discord, we are just Party Invite, and we've got a lot of conversations to be had there. If you're looking for a group, definitely join the Discord because there's always somebody ready to play. That somebody is almost always Thomas. But, there's always somebody ready to play something, whether it's Destiny or Sea of Thieves, Boon Reapers, or Deep Rock Galactic, or basically any other game. We've got a lot of Rocket Leaguers as well.
And we've got some stuff in the works that I haven't
so much
announced yet, but I'm really looking forward to some fun community stuff here in 2021.
For sure. We're everywhere. We're on Patreon as well under Party Invite. Just give us a search, like we're going to come up.
Yep.
That's as simple as it gets. If you do go onto our YouTube, give us a subscribe, give us some likes, and let us know what you are into. We are bringing in these guests as often as we can. We're trying to bring you some awesome people, and Reb, we thank you so much for being that awesome person this week, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight.
This is a good time.
I can't wait till we can start doing like Kansas City community events and stuff like that when all of this shenanigans are over. It's 2021 now, but it's feels like we're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
So, but where can everybody go find you, Reb, if they want to follow you?
You can find me on Twitter at Duck Valentine. You can find my cooking podcast on Twitter also at Cozywood Kitchen. And there's links to all different platforms that's on there. You can find my work, my journalism at gamesindustry.biz for the time being.
Okay.
Alrighty. All right.
I might have something to say about that in the next couple of weeks, but
So keep an eye out for that. Nice little tease there. Thank you for everybody for listening or watching, what have you. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.